Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Balabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Balabha Girivardhari Jasodhanandana Brajajananandana Jasodhanandana Brajajananandana Jamanatiravanam Jadi Jamanatiravanam Jadi Jaya Radha Madhava Hari Madhava Jaya Radha Madhava Hari Madhava Gopi Jana Balabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Balabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Balabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Balabha Girivardhari Jasodhanandana Brajajananandana Jasodhanandana Brajajananandana Jamanatiravanachadi Jamanatiravanachadi Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayom Vishnupad Paramahamsa Hari Vijagacharya Astatara Satsasi Srimad Divine Grace Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Gaura Premanandi Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Continuing from where we concluded yesterday evening, we're reading from Gopal Champu on the chapter dealing with Mother Yasoda binding Krishna, and where we ended up, he's been successfully bound. I'll read the verse or the phrase that we ended up with yesterday. Having tied him up and showing harshness to him to teach him, His mother went to do her household chores with the other women who were laughing. She placed other boys around him to protect him. And so continuing, when the women left, Krishna pretended to cry for a while. Then he became joyful at the prospect of moving the mortar to many places. Although he was tied up, with great faith, increased by being surrounded by the boys, he played with them while smiling, moving the mortar bit by bit while they also laughed. He then had them go to the empty houses of the women and steal butter hanging in pots. But he did not desire to free himself from the mortar using his hands or any instrument in order to give joy by pulling the mortar. He then saw the two Yamala Arjun trees situated near the town gate, whose leaves were dancing in the wind. Gradually he made his way towards those trees. Snegdakanta, in freely describing this incident of breaking the two trees, wanted to show not the Lord's power, but something else. Then, desiring to go to another place, he went along the path between the two trees, but the path was narrow between the trees and sloped down. The mortar became stuck between the trees. Desiring to pull down the trees, he started pulling hard. A terrible sound arose from the trees, and he pulled the two trees down. All the inhabitants of Braja, other than the deaf, could not maintain their composure on hearing that sound. What was most astonishing, however, was that Krishna had broken the two trees which were hard as thunderbolts, but he could not break the bondage of affection he had with his mother. Poets praise this. Then comes the singing portion. I praise the child cared for by the women of Braja. He has a dark complexion and his ankle bells jingle. To give joy, he gives joy when he crawls. He produced a rough sound as he pulled the mortar over the earth. His eyes became restless at the curious, thunderous sound of the falling Arjuna trees. Hearing the fearful sound of the falling trees, the inhabitants remained in a fainting condition for a muhurta. Only the boys around Krishna did not faint. Experiencing the height of sweetness of his pastimes, they did not become frightened and remained immobile like painted pictures. Hearing that sound from far off, the villagers speculated on his origin and went towards the place, arriving all at the same time and full of anxiety. They conversed with each other. How have these trees fallen without wind, without rain, without thunderbolts, without an attack by elephants? How is it possible from someone to uproot, it should be I think 4, someone to uproot the trees when there is no one here? For that reason, everyone fainted on hearing that loud sound. They noticed that Krishna was near the trees and that he was smiling. Pulling the mortar, he was experiencing bliss in his actions. They surrounded him saying, "How did this happen?" Seeing his father come from behind, Krishna began crying. His frightened father smiled in order to comfort the child and untied him. Kissing the child's face, he repeatedly asked, "What happened?" Though he knew the cause of his being tied up. "Where is that rascal who has tied you to the mortar?" Attached to his father, he approached him after some time and whispered in his ear, "Oh, father, mother did this." Yashoda, after recovering from fainting and repenting what she had done, told Nanda everything. Thus, he already knew. But he didn't want to say anything suddenly to Krishna while alone with him. Not with disrespect, but out of ignorance of the details, he asked the other boys, "How did this happen?" The boys spoke. Then comes another singing section. Krishna went between the two trees in order to go to a wider place for playing, and pulled the immovable mortar by its base in a crooked manner. He produced a cracking sound in the trees, and then suddenly made them fall to the earth. Then two people, like fire, decorated with bracelets, crowns, and earrings, emerged from the broken trees and offered respects in all directions. They then praised Krishna. The two then departed for the north. Hearing this, all the people with parental feelings, including Nanda, dismissed it as children's talk. Others, however, could not remove the doubt in their hearts. Gradually, one by one, others came and joined Nanda. Holding Krishna to his chest, he went to the Jamuna river to perform his daily rites. Taking a bath with his son, he had brahmanas chant auspicious prayers, and after dismissing them with great gifts, returned to his house to take his morning meal. So it's early in the morning. Being unhappy because of separation from Krishna and ashamed of having tied him up, Yashoda did not come out of the house and did not talk to other women in the house. When the other women left, Rohini, who solved all problems, surrounded her along with the respectable kitchen assistants. Nanda brought Krishna and Balaram and ate his meal with them while engaging in affectionate soft talk. He relaxed with the two, who were supreme bliss incarnate, for 2 muhurtas, the long breakfast. His heart was satisfied as if lying on a soft bed. He went to the cowshed at the time that the cows came and supervised their milking. Bringing white sugar from the house, he had the 2 boys, along with his friends, drink most beneficial fresh milk from the cows as a substitute for breast milk. He taught them how to write some letters. Entering the house, he met with others to have his evening meal. Desiring unbroken happiness with his son, the head women, including Rohini, the jewel of their families, came and made a request. "O King, Yashoda has not eaten all day, and she does not speak to anyone. Seeing that, all have followed her example." Nanda spoke with sadness and smile. "What can we do? After showing anger, one should not regret one's fault." They said, with tears in their eyes, "Ah, she is very soft internally and externally. She will be devastated by your words." Slightly smiling, Nanda then asked his son, "Will you go to your mother?" Krishna said, No, I will spend my time with you." Then the wives of Nanda's elder brothers said, "Whose milk will you drink?" Krishna said, "I will drink fresh milk from the cows mixed with sugar." They all said, "Who will play with you?" Krishna said, "I will play with my father. I will bring my brother also." Nanda said, "Will you not go to your brother's mother?" Angrily, Krishna said with tears in his eyes, "She left me and went away." Hearing this, Rohini, with tears in her eyes, said softly, "Oh, son, why are you so harsh? Your mother is suffering." Those of you that are parents, just meditate on talks with your small children. Not listening to her words, Krishna, with tearful eyes, glanced at his father's face. To attract Krishna, Rohini gave a signal to Balaram. Balaram went to Krishna and held his hand. Krishna rejected his hand and went to the lap of his father and held his arms around his neck, looking at Nanda's tear-filled eyes and bringing Nanda under his control. Seeing Krishna's internal affection for his mother, Nanda raised his hand as if to beat Yashoda in order to reveal Krishna's affection for her. "Oh, son, if you agree, I will beat her." Krishna could not tolerate this and blocked Nanda's hand. Smiling again, Nanda, showing great compassion because of his paternal affection and understanding the heart of Krishna's mother, said, "Oh, son, if your mother is in this condition, what will you do?" He spoke while smiling, indicating she would die. Because of his child's nature, Krishna immediately became anxious for his mother. With tears in his eyes, he said, "Where is mother? I must go there." In anxiety, he went to Rohini's lap. While all were noisily laughing, Rohini, who bestows the greatest happiness, took him and entered the house. He hugged his mother's neck while crying in joy. She kissed the child's head and made sounds like a cow. With melted heart she sobbed, making all others there sob. Yashoda pacified the women with comforting words, and a slight glow appeared on her face. She appeared healthy with a beautiful face and satisfied her child with breast milk. With the other helpful women, she fed him and Balaram. For 3 days after the incident being reserved, Yashoda did not show herself to Nanda. But on another day, Krishna, on the order of his father, brought her to him, meaning Nanda, holding the edge of her cloth. From the day that he was bound, the women of Vraja called the beautiful dark child Damodar in a joking way. What poet among all the people in this world can describe Yashoda, whom Shukadev has said is much superior to Brahma, Shiva, and Lakshmi? The drum roll of her fame announced by Shukadev wanders throughout the 3 worlds with great renown. Then he quotes 10:9-20. Neither Lord Brahma, nor Lord Shiva, nor even the goddess of fortune, who is always the better half of the Supreme Lord, can obtain from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the deliverer from this material world, such mercy as was received by Mother Yashoda. Balaram said to Krishna with anticipation, "Oh, brother, do you remember that you said we would live in a big forest?" Krishna said with a smile, "Oh, yes, we will go and play there." Finishing the story, Snigdhakanta said, "Oh, king of the cowherds, A son has been born to you, who transformed the trees into celestial devotees. All the assembled people, realizing joy from these narrations, then returned to their houses. That's the end of that chapter from Gopal Champu. And next, very delightful, we're going to hear commentary on the Damodarastakam verses. So those of you that know the first verse will say the verse, and then we'll go to the commentary, translation and commentary. Namam Ishwaram Satchit Anandarupam Lasat Kundalam Gokule Brajamanam Yashodhabiyo Lokaladhavamanam Param Rishtam Atyanta Trodrutyagopya. Translation: I bow down to the Supreme Controller Sri Damodar, whose form is the embodiment of eternity, knowledge, and bliss. His glistening earrings swing playfully to and fro upon his cheeks. This is not Prabhupada's translation. This is another one. He manifests super excellent pastimes in Gokula, stealing fresh butter, suspended from the rafters of the gopis' storerooms in fear of Mother Yashoda. He jumps down from a wooden grinding mortar and quickly runs away. She runs after him and finally catches him from behind. And the commentary reads, the specific attributes of the absolute truth of the Lord, Tattva Vishesha, are addressed first. Satyavrata Muni begins with the offering of obeisances, Namami, as an auspicious invocation, Mangalacharana. He invokes the mercy of Lord Damodar to empower him to offer this prayer by the word Ishvara, the Supreme Controller. Ishvara also indicates that the Supreme Lord alone is worthy of the highest praise. It further implies the specific nature of devotional service bhakti. The Lord manifests himself in a form that embodies eternal existence, knowledge, and bliss, Satchidananda Rupam. Thus, his supreme sovereignty is established. Paragraph. The attribute of his enchanting beauty, Rupa Vishesha, is described next. As he runs from Mother Yashoda, his earrings begin to swing back and forth. Lasat Kundalam. The earrings naturally sport upon his cheeks as he plays in the courtyard of Mother Yashoda. All the ornaments that adorn the Lord have become super excellent by contact with his divine body. Yet these earrings have attained superiority over all by the great fortune of constantly kissing his divine cheeks while swinging. They are glistening, lasanti, due to being enriched with the effulgence from the Lord's complexion. Paragraph. Uddhava describes Krishna's beauty as so supremely enchanting that his transcendental body is the ornament of all ornaments. Bhagavatam 3:2-12. Only in Gokula does Krishna display his most splendid pastimes that surpass all other manifestations of his excellence. Gokule Brajamanam. The word Gokule indicates the place where cows and cowherds reside. The attributes of his family, Parivara Vishesha. Parivara Vishesha, the attributes of his family, thus further portray his unique excellence. The last two lines of the verse describe Lila Vishesha, the attributes of his excellent pastime as the butter thief. In fear of Mother Yashoda Bhiya, he quickly runs away, Dhavamanam, from the mortar, Ulukalat. Then she also runs very swiftly, Atyantato Drutya. Quote, Krishna at that time was sitting on an upside-down wooden mortar for grinding spices and was distributing milk preparations, such as yogurt and butter, to the monkeys as he liked. This is quoting from the chapter 9. Because of distributing milk, because of having stolen, he was looking all around with great anxiety, suspecting that he might be chastised by his mother. Mother Yashoda, upon seeing him, very quickly but cautiously approached him from behind. When Lord Krishna saw his mother, stick in hand, he very quickly got down from the top of the mortar, began to flee, as if very much afraid. Although yogis tried to capture him as Paramatma by meditation, desiring to enter into the effulgence of the Lord with great austerities and penance, they failed to reach him. But Mother Yashoda, thinking that same personality of Godhead Krishna to be her son, began following Krishna to catch him. That's 8 and 9, verses 8 and 9 from this chapter 9. The word paramrishtam, meaning caught from behind, also intimates the supreme love that Sri Krishna has for Yashoda. Therefore, Gopya lovingly denotes Mother Yashoda and implies the great fortune of the cowherd caste that the Supreme Lord prefers to mingle among them. Paragraph. Quoting from Vaishnav Toshani of Sanatana Goswami, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains that the pastime of baby Krishna's breaking the pot of yogurt and being bound by Mother Yashoda took place on the Diwali day, or Deepa Malika. In India, this festival is celebrated in the month of Kartik with fireworks and lights. Then he quotes the second verse. Actually, this is quoting Prabhupada's purport from the second verse of chapter 9. Quote, among all the cows of Nanda Maharaj, several of Mother Yashoda's cows ate only grasses so flavorful that the grasses would automatically flavor the milk. Mother Yashoda wanted to collect the milk from these cows, make it into yogurt, and churn it into butter personally, since she thought that this child Krishna was going to the houses of neighborhood gopas and gopis to steal butter because he did not like the milk and yogurt ordinarily prepared. These 8 specific cows were called Padma Gandha. Gandha means fragrance. Padma Gandha. And their milk was as fragrant as the lotus flower. Just as swans live only on lotus stalks, so these cows ate only special grass. Mother Yashoda took particular care of these cows and used their milk to make special sweets for Krishna. She hoped that he would lose interest in the butter and yogurt from the houses of the other gopis. In this way, she made an attempt to rectify his stealing habit. I think I'll just read one more, text 2. So you can say with me. Rudam tam ahor netram yugmam mrijantam karam bhoja yugmena shatanka netram mohoshvashakam pati rekha kanta stita graivam damodaram bhaktibadham. Translation, this is now different than Prabhupada's. He cries and rubs his eyes again and again with his 2 lotus hands. His eyes are fearful and his breathing quick as Mother Yashoda binds his belly with ropes. He shivers in fright, and the pearl necklace shakes upon his neck, which is marked with 3 lines like a conch shell. To the Supreme Lord, Sri Damodar, whose belly is bound by his mother's pure love, not by rope, I offer my humble obeisances. The second verse continues to describe Lila Vishesha. Again, the word Vishesha means attributes. He is crying, Rudantam, because he sees the stick in Mother Yashoda's hand. Perceiving that she may strike him, he appears fearful, hoping her natural empathy may save him from punishment. Due to fear, tears are forming in his eyes, so he rubs his eyes with his lotus-like hands in the normal manner of children to wipe away their tears that are beginning to flow. Then, Satanka netram. His fearful eyes reveal how much he is dreading punishment. It also indicates his glancing here and there in great fear, trying to avoid being punished. The confidential pastime is revealed in this way. Therefore, due to his continual sobbing, he is trembling. Muhu, Shashva, Kampa. And thus, Stitagraiva, the pearl necklaces and earrings that adorn him, are also shaking. Paragraph. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is fearful to everyone, has become fearful of Mother Yashoda. In this way, Mother Yashoda now becomes greater than God, more powerful than Krishna. The Mayavadi philosophers want to become one with God, but in Vaishnava philosophy, the devotees become more than Krishna, and Krishna accepts this. He elevates his devotee beyond his own position, just as Arjuna became the hero at Kurukshetra and Krishna was simply his chariot driver. Actually, Krishna was the hero, but he gave the credit to his devotee because he takes pleasure in seeing his devotee in a greater position than himself. And then quoting verses 15 through 17 of chapter 9, quote, when Mother Yashoda was trying to bind the offending child, she saw that the rope was short by the measurement of 2 fingers. Thus she brought another rope to join it. This new rope was also short by 2 fingers, and when another rope was joined to it, it was still 2 fingers short. As many ropes as she joined, all of them failed. Their shortness could not be overcome. Paragraph. The reason for the failure of the rope to bind him is bhakti badham. He can be bound only with devotion. No other power can bind him. The significance of the 2 fingers is also very important. The first finger represents the devotee's sincere endeavor of love and unflinching determination to attain Krishna and thereby please him. The second finger represents Krishna's supreme mercy, by which he agrees to be bound by his devotees' pure love. So, paragraph, he is bound with a rope around the belly, Damodaram, and tied to a wooden grinding mortar. This reveals the Lord's excellent quality of coming under the control of his devotees' pure love, bhakti badham. He responds to bhakti in two ways. From Mother Yashoda's point of view, he is conquered and bound by her loving parental devotion, Vatsalya. From his own point of view, he willingly allows her to bind him, although no rope can ever bind him. And then finally there's a quote, just text 1819 from chapter 9. Quote, because of Mother Yashoda's hard labor, her whole body became covered with perspiration, and the flowers and comb were falling from her hair. When child Krishna saw his mother thus fatigued, he became merciful to her and agreed to be bound. Oh, Maharaj Parikshit, this entire universe, with its great exalted demigods like Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma, and Lord Indra, is under the control of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, yet the Supreme Lord has one transcendental attribute. He comes under the control of his devotees. This was now exhibited by Krishna in this pastime. I think I'll read one more. Text or verse number 3. Iti driksa lila bhir ananda kunde swagoshim nimajantam akyapayantam tadiyeshita gyesho bhaktayarjitatvam punak prema tastam shatta vrittivande. O my Lord, by your own childhood pastimes, you continually immerse the residents of Gokula in pools of ecstasy. You reveal to those who are attached, who are attracted to your majesty and opulence, that you are only conquered by the love of your pure devotees. Again, I offer my obeisances with love and devotion hundreds and hundreds of times. And the commentary reads, the attributes of his excellent qualities, guna vishesha, are described in this verse. The first word, iti, indicates this Damodara Lila, or all of his childhood pastimes like the Damodara Lila. Next, sva lilabhi. Sva lilabhi denotes his own transcendental pastimes, by which, sva gosham, by which all the residents of Gokula become immersed in pools of ecstatic mellows. Ananda kunde nimajantam. Immersed in pools of ecstatic mellows. The word swa connotes swasya, or his own glory, and swanam, the glory of the residents of Gokula, which are displayed by these pastimes, akyapayantam. Moreover, sva gosham may refer to child Krishna, since he is also a resident of Gokula. Then a warning to those who cultivate knowledge of his majesty and opulence, tadiyeshita gyeshu. He only reveals himself to the pure devotees, bhaktayar jitatvam, being conquered by their love. Again, this is proclaimed for all to know, akyapayantam. And then he quotes a verse from chapter 11. To pure devotees throughout the world, who could understand his activities, the Supreme Personality of Krishna, exhibited how much he can be subdued by his devotees, his servants. In this way, he increased the pleasure of the Brajvasis by his childhood activities. Last paragraph. Only by pure love and devotion, premata, can the Lord be known as he is. So let us offer obeisances, Vande, unto him, hundreds and hundreds of times, shatavriti, shatavriti, hundreds and hundreds of times. A further meaning can be gained from the above Bhagavatam verse that obeisances are offered hundreds of times to the process of devotional service, bhakti, which subdues the subject of our love, Sri Krishna. And we'll continue this evening. This is nice commentary. Throughout ISKCON, we're reciting these verses, reading the translation probably in whatever the language, and there's certainly, well, a few things. There's certainly potency in the words because they're very exactly following the Bhagavatam, or the Lila as it's unfolded in the Bhagavatam. If there's anybody in the listening audience that knows some of the background of Satyavrata Muni, please send that information to me because I'm not aware. But Satyavrata Muni, whoever he is a lover of Krishna. And his realizations, his expressions of all that's unfolding here it's stimulating for ecstatic love for Krishna. Just hearing, stimulating for ecstatic love for Krishna. And it's helping to reveal or unpack or commentary has a way of taking essences and indicating within those essences what are the elements or components. I like this metaphor of taking a ball of cotton and just stretching the ball of cotton. And a ball of cotton is just strands or fibers of cotton. And then when they merge together or move together, somehow it becomes a cotton ball. And of course, cotton cloth is just strands of cotton woven together. So that the verses, sometimes they're in even more compact sutra form, but verses that are very poetic and sweet sounding, just sounding to the ear, but filled with meaning. Commentary just takes the ball of cotton and pulls them out and holds them up and then sees how they all fit together and make a nice tapestry. It's nice to get the detail and it's nice to get the essence. And they complement one another. Some people like reading Bhagavatam, especially in the beginning. They like reading, they want the sense of accomplishment, so they just read the verses. And there's potency within the verses, just like there's potency within the verses of Bhagavad Gita. However, without commentary, we won't get the actual understanding of Bhagavad Gita or Srimad Bhagavatam. Doesn't mean don't read the verses. So after reading the verses, then go back and read the commentary. And after reading the commentary, then there may be further inspiration to read further commentary. right in the very first verse of Srimad Bhagavatam, 111, Bhagavatam, purport. Prabhupada is writing, he's in Vrindavan, at the Radha Damodar temple, writing commentary that he's going to be taking with him to the West. I mean, it's such a nice image in my mind of, he sees it as mission impossible, but he has an instruction, and he's taken his instruction to heart. Take the teachings of Lord Chaitanya to the English-speaking parts of the world. So the teachings of Lord Chaitanya are Srimad Bhagavatam. And Srimad Bhagavatam is the teachings of Lord Chaitanya. They're the same. So therefore the first canto is to take the teachings of Lord Chaitanya. It's similar to, different from, but similar to when Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur wanted to send disciples to go to England, because there was a natural, during his time and prior to his time, a connection between England and India. So before sending the disciples to India, he was waiting and waiting and waiting for the book that Professor Sanyal was putting together, Sri Krishna Chaitanya. And it's available now in a digital format, probably in a printed format. I haven't seen. But who is Lord Chaitanya? That was Bhaktisiddhanta's wish. So who is Lord Chaitanya's teachings, or what are Lord Chaitanya's teachings? That's Srimad Bhagavatam. So in the very first 1.1.1 purport, Prabhupada writes something that says, not verbatim, but says the essence is, those persons who appreciate the subject matter of Srimad Bhagavatam are encouraged, the serious students, he uses the word, should study the writings of acharyas who have discussed these subjects, and gives some names of some of the acharyas. Initially, certainly initially, the verses, and then the verses in the Bhaktivedanta purport, just like this exercise that Vaisheshik Prabhu has the world engaged in the chapter a day. You're probably familiar with that, Chad. And lots of devotees are doing, and deriving benefit because it's Krishna's words, chapter of Bhagavad Gita, every day. It goes in after reciting again and again. And then it invites reading Prabhupada's Bhaktivedanta purports. And after reading the Bhaktivedanta purports, that's resting upon the writings of previous acharyas, certain ones in particular. But there are many significant commentaries on Bhagavad Gita and significant commentaries on Srimad Bhagavatam that Prabhupada based the Bhaktivedanta purports. So after becoming familiar, the serious student may want to understand from different perspectives, or not different than in contrast to Prabhupada's perspectives, but to augment Prabhupada's perspectives, to appreciate how Prabhupada has given us essences. So anyway, the exercise that I've been going through, this month, the Damodar month, is appreciating from different perspectives the Damodar pastime, including this nice exercise, this Vishesha and that Vishesha. How does the Satyavrata Muni picture unfold when you take some strands out and hold them up? There's a very logical sequence to the composition. By poetic expression, it doesn't abandon logic. doesn't abandon the beauty of composition. It includes all those things. When one is very elevated and can compose such writings, it has all those elements. So it's nice to appreciate from different perspectives. I've been enjoying this month a lot. So let's see if there's some discussion. I think by the time we finish tomorrow morning, we're close to being able to complete all the extra commentaries and things here. Comments or questions? Anyone? It's 18 minutes after the hour. Yeah. Yeah, sure. Please.
Thank you for the lecture. I don't know if this is necessarily a question, but more of a comment.
Fine.
Because yesterday, during the evening lecture, I was listening via Zoom, and I mean, the Damodara Lila story, the pastime is a very profound pastime.
Yeah.
Very famous pastime.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like thinking, I was like, it's really profound, but because I couldn't really wrap my head around what the life lesson was, because I know all the pastimes have the life lessons behind them. And today, I think through today's lecture, I think I got the what the life lesson was through Mother Yashoda shaping Lord Krishna and binding him, because through Mother Yashoda's pure love, through a pure devotee's pure love for Krishna, he elevates them and makes them more powerful than him, because he loves to see people be in a more powerful position than him, because he's mercy. And so the two fingers are the power that he gives to him, and the mercy in which, the mercy that is bounded by, his pure devotee's love. And I think that's a very profound lesson that is just like, it's like this inconceivable amount of love that goes beyond all our mental limitations. And even when we chant the Hare Krishna mantra, I attended the virtual Lotus retreat, I think last week.
Yes.
And I don't know if you know who Ananta the singer is, but he said when we chant the Hare Krishna mantra, that it actually goes, because there's a potency to it that actually goes beyond the deepest part of our life. And I think we can share about what the story is.
One way, just a comment on your comment or realization or reflection. One can look at, to support what you're saying, one can look at what Krishna is, the life lesson of Krishna being controlled, and he enjoys being controlled, and Mother Yasoda, that the type and intensity of her love has the capacity to control him. He is the supreme controller who is controlled by her love. But another way of saying the same, it's a different way of something, or it's say it differently. The nature of real love is not who's the controller. The nature of real love is simply in exchange of love. Like, sometimes this one prevails in a loving relationship, sometimes that one prevails in a loving relationship and no one's keeping score. So Krishna enters into something that we were discussing along the way. In all bhakti, Krishna is controlled by bhakti. Bhakti is elevated to that position. Krishna is controlled. But the degree to which Krishna is controlled is unequaled outside of Vrindavan. But it's so, the control is the factor, but it's love that's the factor. The loving exchange in Vrindavan is so intense that Krishna knowing the loving nature of his mother, is fearful, although he's not fearful. He's not just play acting. Okay, she's thinking she's big and I'm small, so I'll cry. He's feeling fear. And he's enjoying that emotion. It's not the worldly emotion, it's the loving emotion. And then he sees, after the effort that she's making, because these are these 2 fingers too short message. One is the effort, or prayasa, the endeavor to act as a mother. And there's no limit to her endeavoring to act as a mother, although the other gopis are laughing at her. She doesn't stop endeavoring as a mother. And when she's perspiring and this and that, and Krishna sees, he reciprocates. And so the mood of love is, it doesn't matter it's just he's intensifying her feelings of love by resisting. And then as her love amplifies because he's resisting, or the effort is amplifying because he's resisting, she's experiencing difficulty, so then it's same as the Gopal Champu message. So it's not just about control, it's the nature of real love is found in Vrindavan. With an intimacy that one doesn't find outside. One doesn't find in this world, that's for sure. And so how attractive is what real love really is? It's exhibiting what real love really is. It's not Krishna's, the devotees, this word is used by our acharyas regularly in relation to the resident of Vrindavan. They have a possessiveness. It's not the material possessiveness. And Krishna has a possessiveness of them. So he behaves in a way with Mother Jasoda after the twin Arjuna trees incident, where her love is tested or amplified by he won't talk to her, he won't look at her. It's described elsewhere. Nanda's holding Krishna on his shoulder. And Nanda knows his wife, she's feeling terrible. So he turns his shoulder so that Krishna will look over his shoulder, and he moves his head to the other side. He won't look at his mother. It's love. And he knows so it's his omniscience is there, and his unlimited love is there. And he's behaving in a contrary way simply to amplify her love, but he has simultaneously has feelings of love, and he's behaving to amplify her love. But it's not just playing hard to get. He's feeling those feelings. And when he sees she's feeling what she's feeling, he relents. He's controlled by her love. Or he's moved. He's performing activities that nourish her love. And he's enjoying doing that, enjoying her love being nourished. like this example when the gopis come before Krishna, they want to dress very nicely, not like a young girl might want to dress very nicely before a young man. So he goes, "Wow, look at her." It's for Krishna's pleasure. It's not about egoism. And when Krishna sees their beauty, his beauty increases. When they see his beauty increases, their beauty increases, and there's this ever-increasing competition just by being together. But their everything is the happiness of the beloved. That's pure love. And so there are these two factors to end. The effort of the devotee to please Krishna in a way that's suited to their particular rasa or relationship. And Krishna's mercy extended to those who, special mercy extended to those who have that kind of love for him. He reciprocates exactly according to their love for him, but not in a predictable way, like leaving Vrindavan. That's not predictable. You don't leave when somebody loves you. He leaves. It's very profound. He's not controlled by the love. He leaves. But he doesn't leave. So, anything further? Online? Okay.
So it's in two parts. So you read that Krishna is hoping that Mother Yashoda's natural empathy will prevent her from punishing him. We do see in our scriptures examples of punishment meted out to wrongdoers by spiritual personalities or by Krishna himself, such as killing the demons during Battle of Kurukshetra. So is it a correct understanding that spiritual empathy takes no stereotypical shape?
Is it correct understanding that spiritual empathy takes no what?
Takes no stereotypical shape. And then
Takes no what?
Stereotypical shape.
Stereotypical shape.
And then the second part.
Yes, the answer is yes. Krishna is not a cookie-cutter God. Second?
Part is, in the society of Vaishnavas, as in other areas, there is often disagreement regarding empathetic treatment of a wrongdoer.
Yes, there are definitely.
Empathetic considerations with respect to proper treatment.
Well, what are some of the considerations? It's too diverse to make lists. Rather, it requires intelligence that comes from Super Soul. And I just had a discussion on this topic with relation to Ramchandra sending Sita when pregnant to Valmiki's ashram. When he knew, because he's omniscient, plus she had already demonstrated she was completely pure, and that there's this rumor going on out there. So, do you just respond to rumors because there's a rumor out there? So there are decisions on what to do and dealing with wrongdoers and those kinds of things that no matter what you do. This is now in our realm. There's going to be people that say you made the wrong decision in dealing with wrongdoers, specifically is the question, or in dealing with, difficult decisions, turn left or turn right kind of decisions. So the question is, what are some of the considerations to take when making such tough decisions? Well, Guru Sadhu Shastra and Super Soul. Knowing that whether it's this or that with the wrongdoers, there are going to be people that say you did made the wrong choice. So you could try to be an impersonalist and say, well, I'm not going to make any choices. Or you live a life of devotion and there's wrongdoers, and so there are some lines that are just not to be crossed, and wrongdoers need to be dealt with. What that might look like is the variable that wrongdoers, you don't do anything at all. There's too many variables. I'm thinking now of this really nice example of Jayadev Goswami. Long story. Jayadev Goswami was a worshipper of a deity named Radha Govinda. And he had written Gita Govinda, and he wanted to have a nice Janmashtami festival for them. But he was a Brahmin, he didn't have wealth. So what he did is he went out from his home and was speaking Gita Govinda and received donations, which for him is fine to receive because he's going to use for his deity. So he received, and on his way back he was plundered by some dacoits, robbed him, and threw him in the bottom of a well. And after some days, a king went by to get some water as he was traveling in the forest or something, and happened to discover Jayadev. Didn't know who he was, brought him out of the well and took him to his place, and Jayadev started speaking Gita Govinda in his court or his assembly, and the king was like, wow. Let's have a big festival and let everybody come and hear Gita Govinda. So he arranged a big festival, and the brahmanas came, and the brahmanas were to receive remuneration. And Jayadev called one of the guards and said, make sure those 3 fellows over there, they get some special. And when the dacoits disguised themselves as brahmanas so they could get some donation. And then they saw that, they thought, he told them who we are, and he's going to... So they got up and left promptly. And Jayadev said, please catch these 3 fellows and make sure they're richly rewarded because they're leaving now. So the guards went to catch them, and they finally caught them. And when they caught them, the guard said, we left because that fellow Jayadev, he's bad, and they said he did this, illegal thing, and he knew that we knew, and that's why we left, because we knew that he knew and he was going to get us, and so we left. So according to the narration, the earth opened up and swallowed them right before the guards of the king. And the king came back, the guards came back and told the king, and the king went to Jayadev and said, that these people said these bad things about you, and the earth opened up and swallowed them. How did you know who they were? And he said, Jayadev said, those were the same men that threw me in the bottom of the well and stole the wealth that I had gathered for Radha Govinda. He said, well, if they plundered you and threw you in the bottom of a well, you could have died. And, why did you want to reward them? He said, because there's so much in need of money, I thought that, let them have some money so they don't have to do their plundering thing. So he wasn't like wanting to punish them. The king could have, finished them or put them in jail or whatever. But so how do you deal with a wrongdoer? Back to the question. There's lots of variables. It depends on the heart of the person. The wrongdoers certainly received their deserve by providential arrangement. But if you're Jayadev Goswami, you can kind of count on that. like the wrongdoers that were punishing Haridas Thakur, or punishing, trying to kill Prahlad. So there's lots of variables. But we're not Prahlad, we're not Jayadev Goswami, and we're not so elevated. In terms of our ordinary sensibilities, some wrongdoers, there's a threshold where they must be corrected. Like Mother Jasoda wanting to bind Krishna because he did something that needed to be corrected. But she did so out of love and in such a way that it was out of love. So the variables of how to deal with wrongdoers, a lot depends on you and the circumstance, and there's too many variables to be involved. But in principle, wrongdoers should be dealt with. And to neglect it, it's a little bit like Ram and Vali. To neglect what Vali had done would go back to the king. So he killed Vali because according to the laws of Manu, doing what he did was punishable by death. And if he neglected, then he would be implicated. So wrongdoers have to be dealt with, but in an appropriate way. And it's not easy to understand how to do that. In practically anything you do, somebody's going to say you did the wrong thing. That's the nature of the world in which we live. Anything else on the online? One more?
So the question is, does Krishna act in conditioned souls' lives to amplify their bhakti, regardless of their level in bhakti? Can you kindly discuss any time?
So for non-devotees, does Krishna interact with them in such a way to increase their bhakti? That's the question?
Does Krishna act in conditioned souls, regardless of their level?
So conditioned souls, there can be devotees, non-devotees, and in between. Anybody. Does Krishna interact with people to increase their bhakti? Well, the material world is that. That is the misery, suffering, etc., is to help us, get it. Like, this isn't really a place for suffering. It's of misery. And the misery comes to teach us it's not a place of enjoyment. There is a place of enjoyment, but enjoyment is not bringing the senses to sense objects and going at it, trying to squeeze out some pleasure. That's, the higher purpose to the house of correction besides the house of detention, the prison house. So yes, but so then aside from the non-devotees, even the early stage of devotion, Krishna may give some happiness and Krishna may give some distress. And it's not like he's not dealing with us nicely if he gives us distress, because we want to be encouraged. And if there's distress, then we may not be encouraged. But he is all-knowing, and so one who has that faith, the answer to the question is yes, but one who doesn't have faith isn't going to understand how Krishna is trying to help them, especially when there's distress. Anything else from within the room? Because online is over. Yes? The spiritual possessiveness? There's material possessiveness, and so you want more about what spiritual possessiveness is. It's generally negative, because possessiveness is generally material. So we have to get your binoculars out, or a telescope, or something, to look much beyond the material possessiveness. And the Sanskrit word is mamata, just like aham and mama, I and mine. So the spiritual possessiveness is nothing is mine, near mama, except one thing, my relationship with Krishna. That's spiritual possessiveness. And when it's intense, then it's Vrindavan. Whatever the cows, the peacocks, the trees, the gopas, the elders, it's Krishna is mine. In the spiritual conception of mine, my relationship with Krishna is everything for me. There's nothing else. That's spiritual possessiveness. Nothing else? Nothing else. Nothing else? What about some opportunity to enjoy? What about some difficulty? Nothing else. All right. That's spiritual possessiveness. My relationship, I cannot, I will not, and I cannot move from my relationship with Krishna is everything. And it's very intense. Very intense.
The relationship is not Krishna. It's not just Krishna is a relationship.
Well, both Krishna is everything, and my relationship with Krishna is everything. It's not a material possessiveness, because you can't materially own Krishna. It's a spiritual one. It's the mind conception. You know, there's the material, I and mine, and there's the spiritual, I and mine. And that's the possessiveness, mine. What's mine? My relationship with Krishna. Krishna is mine, and I am yours. And you know, it's like that nice verse where Vishnu says to Durvasa Muni about Maharaj Ambarish. Yes, you know. Durvasa Muni says, help, Sudarshan. And Lord Vishnu says, I can't do anything. Because if my devotee says, okay, I can do something, but I can't do anything independent of my devotee. And why? Because they're to them, I am everything. And because to them, I am everything they are everything to me. There's a spiritual possessiveness from Krishna's side. That's this, control by love. And Krishna likes, Vishnu likes. But it's superlatively intense in Vrindavan. In this chapter it's Mother Jasoda, but as we read, the Acharyas expanded to everybody. She has a particular, and the others have a particular relationship, and Krishna is controlled by them all. Okay? Spiritual possessiveness. Okay. Anything? Srila Prabhupada ki? You don't like masks, huh? You're holding your mask with your hand.
Can't breathe.
It was hurting.
It was hurting.